Anyone who's ever done anything worth doing has dreamed big, failed mightily, and mostly started from humble beginnings. This is a podcast about such people. The most fascinating podcast in the world is fascinating because of the stories of the human beings. 1. Hello, everybody. It's Pat DiCerbo. Most fascinating podcast in the world. Has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the people that agree to talk to me. And today we have John Stoffel. John is from Minnesota, and he is a CPA and a CPC. What does CPC stand for, John?
Certified plan consultant. So
Okay.
I work with retirement plans.
Qualified plans, retirement plans.
Correct.
And John and I met at a ESOP convention. ESOP is an acronym for Employee Stock Ownership Plans, and which is a form of a qualified plan, which John is an expert at. And John has had a wide and varied life. He is a great athlete. He is a great coach. He's done a lot of things that are very innovative, in my view, from an intellectual standpoint, and has had some very difficult things happen in his life as well, which he has, I don't know if you ever overcome these sorts of things, but he has lived a great life in spite of some of the things that have taken place in his life. It's great to see you, John. Welcome.
Good to see you. Thank you.
My pleasure. So as you and I have discussed, I'm in the habit of asking people about their earliest memories. And you had mentioned that your father died when you were 6 years old. And that's about when my earliest memories started, when I was around 5. But what do you remember the earliest memories in your life?
Earliest memories, there's going to be a hodgepodge of things. I remember riding a Shetland pony on our farm. That was my favorite horse, running barrels. I remember going fishing with my father and brothers and family. Remember wrestling around with my father in the living room when he was done with work, and him picking me up from daycare, stuff like that. So all those earliest memories are from the farm when we moved out there when I was 1, I believe. But I'd say, 4 years old is probably as far back as I can go. So.
Gotcha. What do you remember about your dad? What was he doing then?
Yeah, he was a cabinet maker he died when I was 6. So I all my memories are just kind of, when with him. But, since then I've learned he was an incredible cabinet maker and had some great people he worked with. He had his own shop out at the farm. I remember one mixed memory was he was a great fisherman too, and so when we went out to bring some what we call crappies back to which is kind of a panfish, and we'd clean them in the garage, and so I was the descaler. I would grab kind of a rough fork or knife or a spoon and kind of take the scales off, and then they'd fillet them. And I would always come out just covered in scales, and so I'd have to hose me down. So that was part of the fishing bloodline that I think I acquired from him. He had
he gave you the crappy job, so to speak.
The crappy job. You're right. Good one. They also had a small little bench back there that they let me play around with and make some things and pretend I was doing what Dad did, kind of thing. So it was kind of a neat experience, and I remember that later in life as well. I didn't think about this until reflecting for this podcast, but him and I wrestling around in the living room after work. And it was mostly him sitting in a chair and putting me in a leg lock and me trying to get out kind of activity. But I didn't put it together. That was probably my first wrestling experience back then. And, so kind of need to, I guess, reflect. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of reflect back and see some of that opportunity. So.
My pleasure. How did your dad die?
He was a chain smoker, pipe smoker, and he died with lung cancer when he was, I believe, he was 48. So pretty early life, and so that kind of put a lot of pressure on our mom, who was still raising a teenager and a young kid. We had two older brothers that were basically out of the house by then, but off to college. But there's two of us left that she had to raise. So it was she's an incredible woman, and I learned a lot from her as well. So
You had mentioned your mom's emancipation after you were born. I think you said that she went to work for Woolworths, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, FW Woolworths. Yeah.
And
I think part of that was, her adjustment. I think at the time, my father probably had signs of a cancer, and I think I've never had this conversation with my mom or my family members, but my guess is she kind of saw some need for independence down the road, and that's the way she went. I mean, she went to college. She went to University of Minnesota. She was very smart woman and did a lot of great things, but she just took care of the kids until she had to kind of pivot and started working soon after I was born. Learned to drive after I was born, I think, or near around when I was born. So that was, part of her change in role as a parent after my dad died.
And you talked about, was it mom that helped to develop today's reverse safety switch on the riding lawnmower, or was that you?
No, well, that's my kind of weird sense of humor, I guess, kind of coming through. I had an accident when I was 4 years old, where my brother was on the riding lawnmower, and back then, I don't know, do you have a riding lawnmower? Do you know what I'm talking about? When you're going forward and you want to go backwards, and the blade's in motion, you have to push an extra button so it doesn't kill, right? So you have to intentionally be going backwards and stuff. Well, back then, 35, 40 years, 50 years ago, they didn't have that switch. My brother was mowing lawns, so he was going in front of me. I think I remember having like some saltine crackers in my hand. I was taking a snack and just kind of playing around. And so I waited for him to go by and then walked by. And I'm sure I did what every diligent young brother did at the time. I stuck my tongue out at my brother or something. I did something to distract him, and he went back to catch the patch of grass that he missed, and that was a lawnmower accident that kind of shaped my life as well. I lost part of my heel on my foot as a result of that, and so that was where I think I noted that that was a near-death experience. I was in the hospital for 6 months while they're trying to skin graft on my foot back and get me healed. And had some incredible people that I still kind of remember from the hospital. But yeah, so that was, I'm guessing there was enough of those incidents that finally someone said we need to put a safety switch on these lawnmowers. So that's my kind of weird humor of contributing to that.
So your brother ran over your foot with the lawnmower?
Yeah, yeah, not intentionally, but
No.
yeah, that's what happened. So, and he ran into, these are stories I hear, right? He ran into the house. We were on a party line. I don't know if you know what a party line is back then. Is you had to share lines with rural neighbors, and I think he called one of our neighbors, the Sodemans, and they came and got me. And I think between that or I don't even know if it was an ambulance. Somehow I got to the hospital and it's emergency surgery and about 6 months of recovery. I left in a wheelchair doing wheelies. So
wow. And you still became a great athlete.
Well, I'm thinking that contributed to the sports I chose as well. I remember I had a older brother that was a great basketball player, so obviously I wanted to be a great basketball player, but I just didn't have that skill set. And one of the most clear-cut observations was made by one of my friends in, I'd say, like third or fourth grade, um, and hung around them quite a bit. And his name is Joe Juliar. He made the comment, and we were kind of wrestling around. I think maybe after practice, or I was with one of his brothers or something like that, and he goes, "Yeah, you might as well wrestle. You're not going to be able to play basketball with that foot." So, as irony would have it, probably 10 years later, I was a wrestling teammate with him for the time Mankato State University Mavericks. We wrestled together in college.
Wow.
Pretty insightful comment for a kid in seventh grade about a third grader. So,
no doubt. How did you end up on the same team at the same time? Were you a freshman and he was a senior or something?
I was. Yep, I was a freshman, and it was his senior year. He qualified for nationals that year, and he just is incredible individual. You might have to put him on your interview list. I think he's had a pretty interesting life too. But,
okay. Joe Juliar.
Yeah, I think so. He's a senior my freshman year, and my freshman year was almost happenstance. I mean, if there's any sport I was going to play in college, I thought I had the best shot at wrestling. So
did they recruit you? Is it Mankato State? Is that what you said?
It was Mankato State University back then. Now it's Minnesota State University, Mankato.
Okay.
And we're still the Mavericks, as you can see on my shirt.
Yeah.
But I wasn't heavily recruited. I made it to state tournament my senior year, just out of placing in the top 6 to get that kind of glorified place. But and I left the scene for a year. After high school, I signed up to be an exchange student, and during high school, I had taken German as part of my discovering my heritage. We had grandparents that came over from Germany and Liechtenstein, and so I took that opportunity after my senior year to become an exchange student and lived in Germany for a year, almost a year. Well, so when I came back from that, I spent all my money in Europe, so I was going to have to stay at home with mom and go to the local college, which is a very good institution, and I found the wrestling coach. As happenstance, I had a paper route in junior high, and he was one of my customers back then. So it was kind of a funny reacquaintance. But I asked him, I said, I don't know if you remember me. And he said, sure, I do. And I said, well, I'd like to, is there an opportunity to walk on to your team? And he said, and if you know Rummy Macius, and you may know him, he just kind of said, well, you better get up to captain's practice as quick as you can every Tuesday, Thursday. So I went up there, and that started the track of
what kind of practice?
Captain's practice.
Okay.
So it was through
no
August,
coach.
September. Yep, October through October is captain's practice, and went up there and introduced myself to the 2 seniors, and so that was kind of the start of it. I walked into it. I was pretty serious about school, so my mantra back then was I'm going to go give it 120% through March, but if it gets in the way of studies, I'm going to have to pull the plug on it. We'll see how it goes, but I'm going to give it everything I got, and it turned out pretty well. Rummy was he is a legend. He at one point in time, I think he had probably coached most of the high school coaches in Minnesota. They had wrestled for him, and went out.
What's his name again?
Rummy Macius. He coached in Mankato for, I think, almost 40 years, if not 40, and his wrestling pedigree was as a freshman. He won the Big Ten conference himself, and so I'll give you something to look up. But he was to me, he was a perfect coach. He was a very good technician. I mean, and so he had all these little nuanced things that would help me develop as a wrestler. And I had an open ear, open mind, and I needed to learn and absorb, and it was a great environment for me. As luck would happen, I weighed maybe 185 pounds, on a normal day, but the 190 pounder back then was going to be a senior. He was an incredible athlete. He's all-star football player, I think, and wrestler. And he decided his senior year to redshirt and didn't tell the coach until it was kind of late to recruit anybody. So we had the wrestle loss of myself. There's a two-time state South Dakota champion, a couple others, and I ended up winning the wrestle loss. So as a walk-on freshman, unknown to the team before, 3 months ago, I'd won a starting position in 190 pounds. So I'm wrestling guys that are cutting down from 220 pounds, and so it was. I had some height advantage, and so that worked out for me. I had open mind, open ears, and it actually turned out incredibly good. I had and it's Pat. It's one of those stories that if I don't know who the people are, then that's it isn't disrespect, but I didn't get fluttered because I didn't know a lot of the guys I was wrestling, and I just did what I could, and I think I had like an 18-8 record in the North Central Conference, which was back then it was the powerhouse of the Division II wrestling. I think it still holds the most berths into the nationals, but back then North Dakota State, UND, South Dakota State, who've all turned. Well, I think a couple of them turned Division I, part of that program. So, but like I said, I just wrestled my heart out and gave it 120%, and came just a little shy of making it to nationals. But it was very successful year. I thought it was. I played a little bit. I had a lot of worldly experience by traveling to Europe. A lot of independence away from a family and stuff like that. And some of my freshman teammates didn't quite have all the experience, so we made it through a lot of travel experiences together, and hit it off really well with heavyweight at the time, Jason Math, and that formed a great friendship and kind of developed my next 3 years. And like I said, it was an incredible start to a college career. So when it came to March, I had to make my decision. I felt it was a pretty good wrestling year, and I did well in school. I did a lot of things that I wanted to at the pace I wanted to, and so we stayed on, and I wrestled 3 years of varsity.
That's great. So, how did the loss of your father affect you, and how do you account for your success in the absence of that kind of leadership, like a father figure? I mean, a lot of young boys, myself included, and my father did not die. My father's still alive, but a lot of young boys tend towards mischief and sometimes self-destruction. So I definitely needed people, including my coaches and my dad and others, to keep me on track. How did you do it? You've been successful in every way.
Yeah, well, you make so far we made it seem like I was on the straight and narrow the whole time, and I'm and that isn't the truth. I learned a lot of had a lot of bumps and bruises on the way. My dad was a smoker, and I think I mentioned before. I had actually, everybody should be sitting down for this one, but I quit smoking after the 5th grade. So yeah, I definitely was involved with some of the bad.
When
bad
did you
crowd.
start smoking? Like age 3 or?
Third grade was
Okay.
and it was one of those sneak away and hide and get. I may have had a pack of cigarettes in a year at the most. So it wasn't like I was walking around with a cigarette in my mouth. But and the reason, and so I think that was probably one bad habit I picked up from him. Just seeing him do it, that was okay. After after fourth grade, my mom and I moved to Mankato, which is a bigger city. The farm the stables were just too much for a 10-year-old at the time to handle, and she was working full time, so we moved to the cities, and my brother and sister-in-law moved out to the farm to take care of the horse stables. And to give you another example of some decisions that had to be made, after a year getting it was a trailer park, and there's an apartment complex across the road, so it's not the high end level of environment, but at one point in time, Pat, I'm not going to say there were gangs in our area, but there was definitely two drug dealers, the marijuana drug dealers back then that controlled the territory, and they were going to duke it out one day, and they told everybody in the park that, you got to choose sides, and I'm just kind of, I don't even use drugs. Why am I involved in this? And so that was kind of a eye-opening experience that, maybe I need to find a different crowd. And so in fifth grade, I walked away from some friends and quit smoking, and I started playing. At the time, it was like the first year we could play tackle football. So I signed up for that and just started burying my head into sports and stuff that, that were ended up being more positive environment. My mom encouraged that. We didn't have much money, but she always figured out how I could afford, to play a sport or two back then. And my dad was a good athlete. I heard about that. But I think some of that carried over, the enjoying sports. And you're right. I feel my mom did a great job of raising me. She's very independent, very straightforward, and like I said, just incredible woman. But I had quite a few surrogate families. I would say, friends of mine that would adopt me for the weekend and go camping. The Jeff Griffiths family, Kevin Little's family, and the Alan Olson's families. When I was growing up, they'd take me along for weekend excursions or do things with them. Kind of fill the time that, my mom, because she was working so much, probably couldn't afford or spend time doing. So there's a lot of incredible people that I surrounded myself with, and when I got to high school, there was a couple coaches that took me under their arm as well. The Brian Quebec and Gary Dirks of the world. They welcomed me and let me blossom in two or three different sports that they coached. And so you're right, Pat. I filled what I didn't know it doingly, right, or knowingly. But there was definitely some gaps that I had filled, and all along, my brothers and sister-in-laws were they'd spend time taking care of me as well. I'd spend time at another brother's horse farm, and with them, I'd one brother or sister-in-law might have to take care of me while they're and take me to school, and while my mom's busy, stuff like that. So I had quite a village around me by the time I got to high school. So definitely.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So you got through high school, you decided to go to Mankato State. You wrestled at Mankato State. You met your bride for the second time in college? I forget.
Yeah, so she didn't know at the time, but nor does she remember me. I think a couple times, but she was in junior high. She was coaching one of my girlfriend's teams, so I got to know their family, just kind of observing them. But yeah, my freshman year in college, I had some friends from back when I was on the farm in the St. Clair area, and they were throwing a party, and they said, "Hey, why don't you come out this weekend?" And that's where I met Christy for the second time. And it, other than the sparkling personality and incredible humor and just nice person she was, she knew how to play pfeffer, which I hadn't mentioned up until now. But I used to play cards with our family. And pfeffer was the game of
Sounds like
choice.
a female cow, heifer.
It's kind of like Buck Euchre, if you've heard of that, or I'm trying to think of some other games. But I grew up playing cards with my grandpa, his last years, and with my mom and brothers and stuff like that. And the fact that she knew how to play Pfeffer was pretty impressive.
Oh,
And
love at first card game kind of.
well, it was for me. She still didn't know who I was. So, and then about a month later.
How did you find out that she played Pfeffer? Were they playing at the party or?
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
Lonnie knew that both of us played cards. She said, "Why don't you play some Pfeffer?" They got a Pfeffer game. So, and we were on opposing teams, and so it was kind of funny. I had a solid winning hand, and it was kind of cute how she challenged me. Well, I'm going to set you, and I go, I don't think you are. And so I kind of laid down the cards, so that
Oh,
was
so you established domination early in the
yeah.
relationship.
Well, a better way to put that, Pat, is that was the first and only time I put her in her place. I think it was,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
So,
funny.
but 4 or 5, 6 weeks later, a friend of mine was house sitting and had a hot tub, and he goes, "Hey, you're the local guy here going to college. You get a bunch of people to come, and we'll have a hot tub party." And I'm going, it was during finals week. It was Monday of finals week. I'm going,
Hmm.
how you couldn't pick a worse Monday night to have a hot
A
tub
hot
party.
tub party on a Monday.
Yeah, and
That's
so
great.
I did what I could, and as it turns out, I worked with a teammate that Christy was working playing with against in softball, and so I said, "Hey, do you remember her?" And she goes, "Yeah, I play softball against her." I said, "Well, how do I get a hold of her? Because I want to invite her and some friends to a party because." I knew she was. I had to understand she was working, so she wouldn't be studying, and
Mm.
so her and her teammate or roommate came, and I the other weird thing about our first date is I told her, she goes, "Well, I got a softball game on Monday night with the women's league." And I said, "That's fine. I know where the fields are. I'll come pick you up." And so we did that. And as it turns out, she was playing with a bunch of girls that I went to high school with in St.
Hmm.
Clair in the rural setting. So I walk up and 8 or 10 of them say, "Hey, John, how you been? This and that." And she's just kind of turning her head going, "Okay, how do you know all of these girls?" And so
Hmm.
it wasn't a great start to the first date, but Terry, our roommate, kind of helped explain, well, John went to school in St. Clair. He grew up with all these people and stuff like that. So, so yeah, that was the
Got her
first date.
attention though.
Yeah, that was our technically the third time we had seen each other, but it was our first date, and
You are smooth. The hot tub first date on a Monday.
yeah, smooth has never been a word that somebody's used to describe me either, Pat. So, um, it did, and her roommate was incredibly observant because when they arrived, or I'm sorry, it was the next date. It was another hot tub party, and a roommate came as well, and we were there. And there's people, friends of mine from work and stuff like that. And as soon as I didn't notice this at the time, but when she got there, I got up out of the hot tub and greeted her. And later on, her roommate said, "Did you see what he did? He left all of them people and came up and talked to you." And so that was her insight was important to see that there's something there. And so that was a long time ago, and like I said, she's salt of the earth, greatest person I know. And
That's great.
yeah,
And you're a courteous guy, and she picked up on that right away.
yeah, I don't know. I really question her judgment, Pat, on picking me, but no, we get along incredibly well and love her to death.
That's great. So, you have children as well?
I do. We have 2 sons. One is married. He became a CPA as well, married a CPA, and they're living out in Colorado. And in fact, I think they're hiking in Utah right now.
Mm-hmm.
Week excursion there. So, and then our younger son is a sophomore, just completed his sophomore year in college, and plays for our club sport team. And that kind of introduces another, I guess, facet of mine. When I was very young in high school, someone taught me how to play handball. His name was
Mm-hmm.
Paul Dorland. He was like the best in the state at the time, and we were traveling to the Y during the summer. A friend of mine would bike across town, go work out, lift weights, getting ready for football season next fall. And my friend was dating his sister. So then he said, okay, you two, I'm going to show you two how to play handball. You're going to play every week when you come down here. And then I'm going to challenge you to a game to 11. If you score a point, I'll buy you a pair of new gloves. Meanwhile, you can borrow these gloves that I have, kind of thing. And so that was the start of handball when I was 16. Really didn't pick it back up until after college. There's just too much going on. But that's my new passion. In fact, it's developed. Both our sons enjoyed playing handball when they're youth. We started a youth program. My doubles partner, Mike Wells, is a professor on campus. He goes, "How do we set that up on campus? How do we start a handball club on campus?" And so we checked into it and got that up and running. And so that's my new latest coaching passion as an assistant coach for him at the Minnesota State University Mankato handball club. And
But aren't you a super accomplished handball player yourself?
I'm a person that is really good at choosing a good doubles partner,
Okay.
and in fact that's yeah, we I'd say we're above average, right? And we had a good weekend in Canada where one year when we 1 year in Michigan when we won a national title, and then in
Mm-hmm.
Canada we won a world title in an age group category, and continue to play today. So I'll work out 2, 3, 4 times with instructing one of our 2, 3, 4 of our students, and so get a lot of good activity in. And handball is kind of that pure sport. There's no technology involved. It's all angles, physics, endurance, flexibility, and strategy. So it's kind of a fun game.
Yeah, I thought you were a world champion. I was wondering when you were going to let the cat out of the bag.
Well, I'm a world champion in doubles, so that's
Okay,
why I say that I'm really good at picking a doubles partner, because he
sure.
won the singles that year that we won the doubles. So I was just kind of a passenger on that train. So, but
Mm-hmm.
now we've since enjoyed playing and coaching together. He's an incredible individual, very driven. We've managed to turn a athletic club here on campus into it's basically a handball powerhouse. There's players that'll come from different countries, different states to come and play handball, get a great education in Mankato, and then enjoy our team, our kind of family atmosphere team. In fact, he's done an incredible job of recruiting people. We've now won the there's a national tournament for handballs at the collegiate level. We only allow college players in and compete for team titles. We've won that tournament for the last 4 years with the talent that we've brought into Mankato. And
Is it an NCAA sport or a
it
club
is
sport?
it's
Okay.
not for Mankato. It's and nationally it's not an NCAA sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's a true college club sport, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's very little funding, but some funding from the university, and it's all a lot of fundraising that Mike does, and we do for the team.
And
Traveling
you're the
across the country.
assistant coach?
I'm one of the assistants. Yeah, we got 4
Mm-hmm.
of us that's on the coaching staff, and we travel around with just about 30 players
Wow.
to 4 or 5, 6 different tournaments a year, and um, but and Pat, I think you can appreciate it. Handball. There's no technology involved.
Mm.
There's no $1 million contract waiting, right? There's no money, and it takes a lot of talent and time to learn the game. And so the people you're working with are just hardworking, good-natured people. And there's no antics. There's no crowd or camera to make to get in front of. And so it's just people that love the sport, they're addicted to the sport, and they're hardworking people, and it's just a incredible environment to coach in.
I think this is how we get rich. I think the old Premier League, that was nothing, and now it's huge. And now everybody, all the all the plutocrats are buying up the rugby teams. I say we buy up the handball teams
There we
before
go.
everybody.
Hey, I'm for you. We're looking for that $1 million
You're looking for
donor. So
funding?
yeah, absolutely. We fundraise for we provide scholarships and stuff
Oh,
like
that's
that. So
terrific.
yeah, it's a crazy world, but we do the best we can to fund for the scholarships that we provide. Out of a $30,000 budget. Most of that's personal fundraising that Mike's found and supports. So it's a great environment. Great. If you ever come across other handball players, you're gonna know that they are incredibly addicted and just love the sport. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have some very loyal people out there that just love supporting handball. So just
This
not
could
enough of
be a new chapter in my life because at the moment, I think you may be the only handball player I know.
them.
I'm
Hopefully
grateful
not
for
the
that.
last. Yeah, hopefully not the last. Yeah, no, we and we've had a great success in kids coming to college not knowing what handball is, take the class and hey, I kind of like it, and develop far enough that they become super competitive at the national level. And so we're developing both sides. We're bringing in huge talent, but we're also bringing up people that never heard of handball before. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're even halfway athletic and want a great education, we got a club family that I think you'll enjoy being around.
That's really neat.
Pat, how
I mean,
many years of eligibility do you have
I
left?
still have 4 years left.
Nice. All right. Good.
But I don't know if I'm cerebral enough for the game. Like it's a very cerebral game, you said.
It is. It's a strategic game, or
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to put your opponent on the defense and in a non-offensive position, hit the ball, so that you can take advantage of it. So yeah, it's
A
a
lot of angles, right?
yep, a lot of angles and a lot of spin on the ball. You can put spin on it. Learning the serve, and so it's like I said, it's a long learning curve, and that's why I think it's not attractive to a lot of people.
Hmm.
You're not going to get that instant success. It's going to take some time.
Can
And
you use pine tar?
no,
I'm
outside the
out.
court, you can do whatever you want with it. But yeah, there's very little technology involved. It's all
Mm-hmm.
training and physical exercise, and you're hitting the ball with a leather glove to keep it dry. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, but
That's neat.
we love it.
So let's talk about your profession. You were an accountant, and then you saw an opportunity to specialize in the ESOP space.
Yeah, I started out as an auditor. I passed the CPA exam, started as an auditor, did a little tax, and in my audit years, I was doing some audit on retirement plans. So if they're
Mm-hmm.
large enough, they need to have an independent audit, and so that got me hooked on retirement plans. And so I experienced them a little bit, but I wanted to get more into it. So I had an opportunity to kind of develop that side of the business for our CPA firm in Mankato, and had some good success doing that. Our firm wanted to keep growing, so a couple mergers later and acquisitions later, I was supervising the retirement plan division for Eide Bailey, and they're a regional national accounting firm. They're one of the top 20, I believe, and they had a retirement plan division that I was supervising at the time, about 17 years ago now, that was acquired by Alaris. And Alaris is a financial services company rooted in traditional banking, wealth management. Then they added retirement plan administration and as well as wealth management. And so that environment has allowed me to excel in retirement plans. But then, and I think in our conversation, I talked about this. I seem to live on the edge of things that people don't like to take on.
Mm.
There's the mainstream, right, retirement plans, but I usually find the edges saying, hey, that's a little bit more challenging. I'm going to take that on, and ESOPs it's definitely that. ESOPs are complicated, and not everybody understands. But there's very few of them across the country. Of the 800,000 retirement plans, qualified retirement plans, there's probably 8,000 ESOPs, and it's a great community to be in. It's employee ownership, which is a great culture to work in, and service. And so, yeah, in the last 12 years, I've grown into the ESOP world. People call me the ESOP geek at Alaris, so, and I'm proud to wear it. Yeah.
You take on a lot of things other people don't take on.
I like I said, someone that's a little bit more challenging. People kind of shy away from it. That's kind of where I excel and live, and try and break it down and demystify things so that owners that are thinking about transitioning out of ownership and want to know about ESOP, we need to be able to explain it to them in a fashion that makes sense for them and works. And we do a lot of participant education where I have to kind of break it down to simple terms and bring it back to the mainstream, what an ESOP is. And so, yeah, that seems to be where I have excelled, and I enjoy it. It's definitely brought a lot of uniqueness to my life, and but I enjoy it.
That's great. But just in your opinion, like, I mean, there's some obvious tax advantages and whatnot, but do the ESOP companies, do the employees seem more motivated than people that work for someone else that owns a company?
Yeah, when we look at the statistics, comparing ESOPs to non-ESOPs, generally the pay is going to be higher, the retirement account balances are going to be higher, and then that cultural aspect of what we call thinking like an owner is there. That I mean, when you transcend from being an employee with a career, right, to an employee owner, where you have to kind of, you can always contribute in ways that are going to help your own bottom line, right? And that doesn't happen too often for the mainstream employee. Whereas if I figure out a process in the warehouse that's going to save some time or reduce waste or make things more efficient, not only have I got satisfaction of contributing, right, I'm just improved the company's value and ability to produce, which is going to affect my ESOP retirement plan account balance in a positive way. And so it's really developing the successful ESOPs out there really have figured out, hey, when we all are facing the same direction, want to be, think like an owner and take on that role. And that's not for everybody, right? Thinking like an owner isn't for everybody, but when it realigns and it really does enhance the whole life of an employee from a positive standpoint. And there's stats out there to support that. But I like I said, it's a fascinating world to service because the management, the former owners, and people running the ESOP companies, they're just kind of operating at a different level, and it takes some unique talents to manage all that, right? To develop that ownership culture, and but it when it works well, it works incredibly well for employees.
Interesting. Well, you've had a fascinating life. I mean, it seems to me you've been super independent for a long time, since you were a small boy. And I was just thinking about how you described, like, how your brothers would take care of you. You'd go out to the farm and someone else, because your mom was working. And
I'd agree. Independence was a pretty important aspect of it. They that they let me do things. They encouraged me to do things that were always good. It led to my desire to kind of travel and explore the world. Right. That was my.
How did you have that opportunity to go to Germany?
Yeah. Well, I started when you start high school, you have to start choosing what kind of electives you want. And so I kind of thought, you know what? I mean, a foreign language is kind of intriguing. And I had always heard that our family, had roots back in Germany and Liechtenstein and stuff. And so I said, well, maybe I'll check that out, and started studying it my freshman year. And they have various exchange programs, and I was blessed enough to be chosen for the Rotary International Exchange Program back when I was a senior in high school to be part of that exchange program. So I lived with two different families. Going back to your independence kind of observation, for someone to walk away from home, right, for up to 12 months takes a lot of independence. And I'd agree that that was key to being able to do something like that. Met some incredible people over in Germany, just fascinating, and really brought me, brought me in and let me kind of experience Germany, do a lot of traveling. But coming back, I'd say my father even influenced me because he wasn't there. I had to be a little bit more independent, right? And I was always get a kick out of looking back. If there was something laying around in a shop or in a shed or something out at the farm and it was broken, I was always convinced I could fix it. So I'd always trying to break it down and figure out how to fix things, and so that kept me. I think that's carried over into my career. I'm always trying to figure out how to solve problems, to get things working the way they should, and keep it in that way. And so
you make things better.
Make things better. Yeah, always trying to improve things. And that experience of just being able to do that and explore and gain that independence, I think was very key. I'd agree.
So with all the things that you've done, if I were trying to explain you to someone else who didn't know you, what would you want them to say? Or to know about you, I should say.
Oh, I think I would say these, person that's interested in a lot of topics, always willing to help and be supportive, and enjoy doing a lot of things outdoors. So I don't know. Those are just the main things that sounds a little boring, but it's pretty. I enjoy it, and the the fact that we, thinking back to the fishing experiences with my dad is pretty ingrained, and I think that drives. And my experience on the lake right now isn't necessarily that I'm catching the fish, that I'm bringing other people into the boat, and they're catching the fish. So it's again helping other people, kind of experiencing some of the things. Now, don't get me wrong, I go on some nice fishing trips that it's just me and I'm me against the walleyes, and I enjoy that. But I get just as much enjoyment of other people in the boat and them catching that big fish. So.
Yeah, I think for me, for sure, they're definitely, and it applies to all things like stuff, experiences, etc. Like I don't want any more stuff. I mean, I want more experiences, but
Yep.
it makes me happier to contribute to someone else's experience.
Yeah.
The contribution gives me the good feeling at this point.
Right now, my gratification I get in life is seeing our two, sons grow into, great human beings, and figuring out what they like to do, and get to experience that, as well as some of the players. I mean, keep in mind, we're a coach, right? We want them to win every match, but in the background, we're really just developing them for life, right? We want them to figure out how to problem solve. We want them to have a great career academically. We want them to have the great career after handball, and understanding how handball, the hard work that they put in handball, can translate to other parts of their life, and finding, just helping develop some of their personalities and what they turn into as adults. It's just been, it's incredible to see that as a coach. I don't know if I hear that enough from coaches that are out there, but that's really what drives it. It's a volunteer position, right? I'm not getting paid to coach, and but the mental gratification from seeing these people overcome, whether it's a handball shot or getting an internship, into their career path, those are obviously some pretty important things that we really share with our handball family and young men and women that we coach.
No doubt. I mean, so many things are just a metaphor for life.
Yep. I agree.
Was there anything that you might like to say or ask me before we wrap up today?
I think, Pat, I always wanted to, I didn't get a chance when we talked to kind of hear about some of your life and how you grew up and stuff like that. Do you have 3 or 4 paragraphs that you probably haven't shared with other people that would be willing to share with me?
Sure. I grew up in a small town, upstate New York. I think there were about 100 kids in my graduating class. And I wasn't a very good student until my father said, if you don't smarten up, you're going to dig ditches for a living. And so my mom and her mother before her worked at Union College. You can see the banner behind me. 1795. It's a very old school. And I used to go there for wrestling practice occasionally. That was where Joe DeMio coached the mostly Greco-Roman, so upper body, but also freestyle. And that room generated, between freestyle and Greco-Roman, I think 8 or 10 world or Olympic team members.
Wow.
I was not one of them, but Jeff Blatnick being the most notable gold medalist. But Sean Sheldon, Ike Anderson, Andy Saris, numerous others. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to go here. But my father said, if you get good grades, maybe we'll figure it out. And I didn't know if we had the money to go. I didn't know anything about anything. But I was able to get into college. And again, I was not a very good student when I got to college. I ran cross country and track, but because of my drinking and cavorting, I got kicked off the track team eventually. And then I played rugby, and I became competitive at rugby, and I got good at it. It's another cerebral game that if you play it, and if you don't play it, it just looks like a big mass of bodies on a field with incoherent mass of bodies. But that made a big difference to me. I learned a new thing, and then I was lucky enough to graduate from college and became a college intern and continue in the job today that I took as a college intern. So I guess if there's one thing about me, I do try to add value. I try to make other people's lives a little better. Contribution that makes me feel good. And I used to think if I gave stuff away, that was bad for me and good for other people. And I've come full circle. There's no doubt about it. I don't want any more stuff. I just want to try to contribute to other people's lives. And of course, when you do that, you end up getting way more back than you ever. So it's a paradox. The more you give away, the more you get back. And I can't tell you, so many times when I need something. I tell this story a lot. When I was a little kid, 5 years old, my mom showed me the Yellow Pages. And I thought, oh my gosh, you can get anything you want in here. And she said, yes, you can. You have to have money, but there's pretty much anything you could want. You can find it in the Yellow Pages. And as I got older, Google came about, and you can get anything you want with Google, even more so than Yellow Pages. But then I realized I can get whatever I want because I have 19,000 people in my database. And when you have that, just because like one friend to another, when you have that, you can get what you want, but more importantly, you can get other people what they need and want. And so at this point in my life, I'm a connector. I'm constantly connecting people to other people because there's still a lot of inefficiency in the world. Even though there's all this information, people don't know where to go for help. To find a person like yourself, for example, who's an expert in a very narrow area. And, the fact that I know you and people like you is super gratifying to me and super useful to me. But more importantly, it's super useful to other people because I can help them get what they want. And then, of course, if I pick up the phone and ask for something, people, for the most part, are just happy to help me because that's sort of my paradigm at this point. I don't know if that was what you were after, but
That's absolutely perfect. Yeah, no, it's very, very reflective, and I want you to know, as someone that you've touched, we appreciate what you do, being that connector.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Look forward to it myself. Have a
All
great
right.
day.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye, John.
Take care.
If you enjoy the most fascinating podcast in the world, please follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and follow on Apple Podcast.